Hello to all the YouTube viewers. Welcome to my YouTube channel TechDBA. And today we are going to talk about MongoDB sharding. So on our previous videos, we have talked about MongoDB replica set. Today we are going to cover another important concept, which is MongoDB sharding. So in this video, we're going to talk about the basics of sharding and what are the components that involved with the sharding. And we're also going to look at what are the basic scenarios we need to do a sharding, and then what are the different types of sharding and what are the considerations we have to do before we make the decision of sharding. Let's get started. So sharding is a method to distribute the data across multiple machines. Say you have one TB of a collection, which you can just break it into multiple smaller data sets, and then you can just place it in each and every shard. So that's the basic of a sharding. So this is primarily used for the deployments with the very large data sets, and that also demands a high throughput operations. So this is the main feature which makes the MongoDB as a horizontally scalable one. Sharding is almost equal to the partitions in Oracle, but partitions are managed only on the particular local database node, whereas the sharding, the data set is kept across multiple data nodes. So what are the scenarios you need to go for a sharding? The performance gain for the MongoDB is achieved through the memory component. So basically the data sets that is kept inside the RAM, so that improves the performance of the MongoDB. So that data set is nothing but a working set. So whenever your working set or the data set that is kept in the memory that goes beyond the available physical memory, that is the time you need to go for the sharding. Apart from that, whenever your disk space is running out of space where you cannot add more than the allocated space for the file system or the storage, then that is the time you need to go for a sharding. And very important is that you can optimize your read operations through by adding a secondary nodes, but you cannot improve the write operations. Whereas if you add a sharded node, you can optimize your write operations that is much faster than a single MongoDB process that can handle. And also you want to keep a larger proportion of data in the memory, so where you cannot do it at one particular machine, whereas when you do a sharding, the data set that is kept in the memory, that will be higher. And another important thing is that whenever you want to improve the high availability of the MongoDB cluster, then that is the time you need to go for the sharding. Sharding has three important components. First one is the config servers. The config server stores the metadata and the configuration information about that particular sharded cluster. This is similar to a CRS in Oracle, where it stores the cluster register information. The second one is a MongoS, which is a Mongo shard cluster interface, which is used to perform the query routing. So this is the interface which will receive all the connections from the end user, and then it will route to the appropriate primary instance that is running at the different sharded cluster. This is similar to a scan listener in Oracle. And the third one is a shard or the replica set. This is nothing but the actual storage of the data where it gets stored. Now let's look at the config server. Config server stores the metadata of all the sharded cluster inside the database called config. And it also stores the location of the various chunks and its min and max values inside the config server. Very important is that after 3.4 version, the configuration server has to be stored as a replica set, and there are no arbiters or the delayed members that is allowed inside this configuration server. It also holds the authentication configuration that is placed inside the admin server, and it holds the balancer process that is running from the primary node. So it can do the balancing operations automatically. So whenever you start your configuration server, you have to specify with -- config svr in your configuration file. So MongoDB will understand it is a configuration server. Now let's look at the MongoS, which acts as a query router. So as I said already, so MongoOS is a primary interface where all the end user connections will come in, and it will route that particular connection to the appropriate shard and the appropriate primary node that's running over there. So it has the metadata that is cached inside the configuration server, and then it will route the queries to the appropriate shards wherever the particular chunk or the data is stored. It is not on a persistent state, and you can have one or more MongoOS process that is running from the system for the load balancing operations. And it also updates the cache whenever the metadata gets changed. And MongoOS was holding the balancer process up until 3.2 version. So MongoOS 3.4 version that cannot connect with earlier MongoDB version. There are two ways the MongoOS process routes the query into the correct shard. First one is the targeted query operations, where the query will have the exact data which is looking for, and that particular data is available on one particular shard. In such cases, the MongoOS process will route the query to that particular shard and gets the result and sends the data out. For example, you are just looking for the employee ID, which is having the employee ID of 1001, then it just hits the particular shard, gets the data, and gives us an output. Whereas the second operation is a broadcast query operation. So in such cases, the query is broadcasted to all the shards. So basically, you're just looking for the employee ID, which is having the department of, say, computer science. Then you will have multiple shards where that particular data resided. So in such cases, MongoOS will receive the request. It will send the broadcast information to all the available shards, and then each and every shard will give that particular subset of the data, and then at the MongoOS process will consolidate and give it to the end user. The next component is the shards, which is also called as a replica set. So the shards having the particular data sets, the actual data is stored inside the shards. So each and every shard having multiple chunks in their documents which holds the actual data based on the min and max values. The shard can be as a single MongoDB process, or it can be used as a replica set in case if we have a secondary or the arbiter that's added into it. So the replica set is used for redundancy as well as the high availability purpose. But always all the write operations that goes into the primary shard. So even though the particular database is a shard, it can also hold the non-sharded collections inside it. The shards has to be started with -shard svr in their configuration file, so that MongoDB process will understand, okay, this particular MongoDB installation having the shards. Now let's look at the chunks. Chunk is the logical partition of the collection that is divided into, and how the data is stored across multiple sharded cluster. The chunks are created based on the shard key that is also called as a partition key. The chunk is inclusive of the lower value and exclusive of the upper value that is specified for the particular chunk. The chunk size can be of 1 MB up until 1 GB, that is defined in the config.settings collection, but by default the size is 64 MB. The collection size that depends on the maximum number of splits and the chunk size. The splits is based on the average size of the shard key value, and the maximum collection size is multiplication of maximum splits and chunk size by 2. For example, if you have an average size of a shard key of 64 bytes and you specify the maximum collection size of 256 MB, then you can store a document which is 32 terabytes of space and size. The metadata of the chunks, that is also called as a chunk map, that is stored in config.chunks document. And the chunks are distributed by the balancer process using a move chunk process. So whenever there is a new chunk that is getting created, so it will be distributed to the least available shard by using the balancer process. Now let's look at the shard key. The shard key is a very basic one that comes as part of your design itself, because based on the shard key, the sharding is being designed. The shard key determines the distribution of the collections documents among multiple cluster shards. So the shard key, it can be created either on an indexed field or a collection of multiple fields that can be created as well in every document of the particular collection. The MongoDB partitions sharded the data into multiple chunks by the definitions or by the values that we define in the shard key. So the chunk is nothing but it will have a maximum and a minimum bound. So all the values that corresponds within that particular value that is placed inside the particular chunk, and the data is distributed based on the chunks, and the size of the shard key was specified as 512 bytes up until 4.2 version, and from 4.4 that restriction is removed. As I mentioned already, the shard key plays a very key role. Up until 4.2, you are not allowed to change the shard key. But in 4.4, you have a redefined policy, so you can change your shard key. So there are some certain considerations before you plan your shard key. The first one is the shard key has to be high cardinality. That means that it has to have enough values to split the data across multiple shards, and at the same time all the data should not be targeted on one particular shard, so it has to be a low frequency as well. And then it should be non-monotonically changing field. For example, date and time that will change every second or every minute, that doesn't qualify for the shard key. And then the fields, the shard key what we specify, that has to be exist on all the documents, so that the data will be split across multiple shards without any misses. And then it has to be an indexed field, or it is a very easy field to look up, so that your performance will be improved. And it has to be random so that your throughput will be increased as well. And very important is that your application should use the shard key. So instead of broadcast, if your application uses the targeted operations, your performance will be better. So based on these considerations, you should define your shard key for the particular collection. Let's look at the sharding types. We have two types of sharding. First one is a hash and the other one is a range. In hashed sharding, the field value is based on the hash function that gets generated based on the field hashed index or the compound hashed index in the version of 4.4. Since it is the hash function that is being used, the data is more distributed, but at the same time you will not be able to isolate the data in one particular shard. So the hash sharding is best suited for the highly monotonically changing data, that is like a date and everything. The next case is a range sharding, where we can specify the lower and higher value for the particular shard, and then the corresponding value that we get stored inside the particular sharded cluster. So you're dividing the data into continuous ranges that is determined by the shard key values, and closed shared key values, for example 25, 26, 27, all those three data will go into one particular shard. So it is not more evenly distributed data, but at the same time, if your query is targeted for that particular sharded document, then it is more efficient to have a range partition. So we have discussed about the sharding in MongoDB and under what are the scenarios we need to do the sharding. And we also talked about the chunks, which is the manner in which the data is distributed across multiple shards. And we have also considered the shard key and what are the best practices that we need to do to determine the shard key. So we talked about the components of sharding, which is the configuration server, which stores the metadata, and the Mongo S process, which acts as a query router, and the actual data that is stored inside the sharded cluster, that is also called as a replica set. So this is an architecture which is having the complete high availability for the MongoDB, where we have the replica set enabled for the various sharded cluster, and the data is distributed across multiple sharded cluster. We are going to replicate the same scenario in our lab setup that is there on the VMware on our next video. So we are just going to create the replication in our VMware using the 5 different steps. First one is the configuration server, where we are going to set up the configuration server replica set. And then next one is a Mongo S process. So we are going to create one Mongo S process in each and every server. And then we are going to convert our existing replica set into a sharded cluster, which is a shard 0. And then we are going to create a new replica set, which is as a shard 1, and then add that particular shard into the existing shard. and we will enable the sharding at the database and collection. We will split the records and see how the data is distributed across. Up until then, stay tuned and subscribe to TechDBA so that our next future videos will come into your inbox. And then like this video, share this video, and please feel free to put your comments in the comment section so that we can improve further. So you can also connect me in my Facebook page as well as in my blog site and techdba@gmail.com. Thank you.